Dave Gardy here for Maritime TV and Ballast Water Treatment Report number 14. With me here is Steve Candido, CEO of EcoCooler. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. Good to see you again.
Now, we briefly talked in Report 13 about the shutdown and some of the effect. Let's go into unpack that a little bit. What's going on with the shutdown as it affects Coast Guard implementation? And then talk a little bit about the equipment manufacturers, what they're doing and meeting with Coast Guard. What's the latest?
Yeah, so the most prominent thing that we've seen from the shutdown is actually the cancellation of a meeting that BEMA, the Ballast Water Equipment Manufacturers Association, had scheduled with the Coast Guard. And this was going to be an important meeting. It was the first follow-on meeting from our initial meeting going back last fall. And many of the agenda items that we had on there, such as what testing needed to be done to change components, the different design limitations, talking about hold times. These were all follow-up things that were going to be discussed at this next upcoming meeting. And so it's disappointing that that meeting had to be canceled, and we haven't rescheduled it yet.
So give us an overview of what BEMA is all about in terms of the service it provides to the industry.
Yeah, well, it's composed of primarily ballast water manufacturers. Those are kind of the charter members, or the, I think that's what it's called, charter members. But then like any other trade association, there are a number of associate members, which are companies that are somehow affiliated with it. So it may be someone like a filter manufacturer or a pump manufacturer. Their components go into ballast water treatment systems. And like other trade associations, it gives a voice to the industry, particularly a technical voice. So as we know from the regulatory history of ballast water regulations and the long delays, the governments, the regulators have a strong voice, particularly at IMO, and the environmental groups normally have a strong voice, but no one was really speaking for the equipment manufacturers, and they're the ones with the technical knowledge to really help design regulations that are practical.
In addition to this canceled meeting, are there other impacts on the Coast Guard's implementation of their program for ballast water treatment systems?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the most obvious one is that there are a number of pending applications for approval of ballast water systems. So there are 15 approved systems currently, and I think there were maybe 5 or 6 that were in the pipeline to ultimately be approved. So the Coast Guard basically stopped work on all those existing or those pending applications. And now, once the shutdown's over, hopefully they'll get back to that. But in the meantime, there were more and more information coming in, probably more applications coming in. So that all gets delayed even more than, let's say, the 3 weeks or a month, 35 days right, that the government was shut down.
Yeah, few people understand when the shutdown hits, that's not just 35 days. They come back and they've got to make up for the 35 days, and they fall behind on the next 35 days. And it's just probably going to be delays in some implementation, I would think.
Well, that's right. And so now, for us, more directly, those of us who do have the approved type approval certificate, we're in the process of updating things and maybe changing components and need some kind of it's usually not a testing approval, but it's some kind of paperwork approval. So those things get delayed. Mm-hmm. And this is all going to have that sort of a domino effect down through the industry.
It's the Ballast Equipment Manufacturers Association we've been talking about. I've been talking with Steve Candido, who's CEO of EcoCooler. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm Dave Gardy from Maritime TV from New York City, and another Ballast Water Treatment Report number 14. Thanks for joining us.